Two Indian journalists have been arrested in Maldives. One is the Indian national Mani Sharma. The other is a British journalist named Atish Ravji Patel. Now, both men were arrested on Friday by Maldivian police under the country's state of emergency decree. They were allegedly arrested for national security purposes. US President Donald Trump told Israel that it too would need to make significant compromises for peace with the Palestinians, even as they accuse one of his West Asia envoys of bogging down diplomacy with what they see as pro-Israel bias. At least 4 Palestinians were wounded in clashes between protesters and Israeli troops along the Israel-Gaza border fence. Protesters gathered along the Israel-Gaza border carrying Palestinian. Now, children were among civilians injured in airstrikes in rebel-held towns of Syria. Social media footage appeared to show the video said to be filmed in Arbil in eastern Ghouta and Douma showed the aftermath of aerial bombardment. Several children were among the victims pulled out from under the rubble of damaged buildings by members of the White Helmet Civil Defense Group. In what comes as a warning to Britain, Brexit negotiator Michel Barnier has said that a post-Brexit transition is not a given. Barnier said that London had substantial objections to the European Union's offer and that parts of it were not up for negotiation. Britain's Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson visited the Bangladesh capital of Dhaka and said everyone wanted to see safe and dignified and secure returns of the Rohingya people to Myanmar. Bangladesh and Myanmar agreed in January to complete a voluntary repatriation of the refugees in 2 years, but the plan had sparked fears in refugee camps in Bangladesh that people may be forced to return despite a lack of guarantees around their security. After a brief shutdown of the US federal government due to the spending bill not being passed by midnight on Thursday, the Senate has now finally approved the spending bill with a majority of 71 to 28. The spending bill is a part of the larger 2-year budget deal and it will now be sent to the Congress for its approval, where it faces stiffer resistance. Former US President George W. Bush has accused Russia of meddling in the US 2016 presidential elections, calling Russia President Vladimir Putin a brilliant tactician. At a business conference in Abu Dhabi, the former US president said there was clear evidence that the Russians had meddled, but whether that affected the outcome of the election was one more question. US Vice President Mike Pence has warned North Korea not to underestimate Washington's military resolve. During a ceremony in Japan marking his departure to South Korea for Pyeongchang Winter Games, Pence also said the United States wants to peacefully dismantle North Korea's nuclear program. The party is officially underway in Rio de Janeiro as Carnival 2018 started with a roaring drum beat with scores of block parties across the city and thousands pouring into the streets to take part in the festivities. One of the first blocos, as the street parties are known, to come to life was the annual Carmelitas Bloco in the Bohemian neighborhood of Santa Teresa. Scientists have succeeded for the first time in growing human eggs in a laboratory for the earliest stages in ovarian tissue all the way to full maturity. Scientists from Britain and the United States said the results could one day help in developing regenerative medicines, therapies, and new infertility treatments. An 8-year-old Indian origin schoolgirl has entered the UK's Mathletics Hall of Fame, an online mathematics-based competition tool named at primary school pupils. Shohini Roy Chaudhary competed with pupils from across Britain and other countries to also make it into the top 100 World Hall of Fame after solving mathematical puzzles with speed and accuracy. Colombia tightened border controls with Venezuela this week as the nation grapples with a mountain influx of hundreds of thousands of desperate migrants fleeing a worsening economic crisis. Colombian President Juan Manuel Santos ordered stricter migratory controls, suspended new daily entry cards for Venezuelans, and deployed 3,000 new security personnel along the frontier, including 2,120 more soldiers. The top foreign policy advisor to leftist presidential elections frontrunner Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador said that the collapse of NAFTA would be a disaster for Mexico. He added that Mexico should depend less on the United States and not interfere with regional neighbors. US President Donald Trump has blocked the release of a classified memo written by House of Representatives Democrats that rebutted a Republican document made public last week which alleged anti-Trump bias in the FBI's Russia probe. The US Justice Department third-ranking official Rachel Brand plans to step down and take a senior job at Walmart Incorporated, sources similar with her decision said on Friday. Brand was next in line of succession to Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein for oversight of Special Counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into potential collusion between Trump's 2016 presidential campaign and Russia and whether the Republican president has unlawfully sought to obstruct the ongoing probe. Westminster Kennel Club dog show was held in New York's Hotel, Pennsylvania on Friday. To make sure the dogs performed their best, they were offered massages and run on treadmills. To de-stress, dogs here have a place to go for a walk as well as a place to go to pee. This is the 142nd edition of the show. A winter storm swept across the northern U.S. Midwest on Friday, dumping up to 9 inches of snow on Chicago, killing at least 2 people and snarling hundreds of flights as it rolled east to threaten New York State and New England. Now, Chicago's metropolitan area was blanketed with its heaviest snowfall since at least late 2016 as the storm put an icy grip on much of Wisconsin, northern Illinois and Michigan. The second round of heavy snow in a week blanketed many parts of France, including the capital on Friday, bringing joy to people but also causing traffic disruptions at the same time. The snowfall, reportedly the biggest in 3 decades, coated Montmartre and the Eiffel Tower in a thick layer of white. Mexican authorities intercepted package containing a small Bengal tiger cub that had been sedated and put in a container to be shipped across the country. A sniffer dog found the tiger in a bin that was being shipped from the western state of Jalisco to the central state of Querétaro.